Hi everyone, good afternoon to our entrepreneurs all across Africa. Welcome to the second series or the second webinar for our TOE Way, hosted by our esteemed facilitator, Madam Angela Nike. Of course, we had the first series a few days ago, and you all are excited for the second series. So here we are today. I also want to mention to our French participants or our French entrepreneurs. Unfortunately, our translator is currently indisposed. I'll try to reach him, but we'll start the session while I also try to get him on the call. So thank you so much again for joining. Angela, over to you.
Thank you, Chimeze. So good afternoon or good day, entrepreneurs, and welcome to webinar 2. I do hope that you benefited from webinar 1. So let's just get started. So the next set of business values that we'll be covering, we'll start with human capital, culture, rewarding performance, and performance management. But before that, maybe I'll just start by asking the entrepreneurs, asking you what one thing you got from webinar 1. So Chimeze, I'm looking forward to you giving me feedback.
Yes, of course. I'm currently on our YouTube channel. While I'll wait for feedback from entrepreneurs to come in. Okay, we have a comment from Dora who mentioned that I understand that ideas can come from anyone and from anywhere.
Great.
Ebere Okorapo says the lessons on ideas, making sense, taking action when it comes to ideas. Yeah, I have two more comments saying one can get ideas from anywhere and anyone, especially from Temi Lade and Aviation Media Corners. Also, Ebere Okafor says, secondly, I learned that collaboration from different voices does not mean weakness. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you all for your feedback. Okay, so moving on. So today I'll just quickly capture the areas we're going to be covering. We're going to cover human capital, culture, rewarding performance, and performance management. We'll also be covering institutionalization and governance, and hard work leads to productivity, having a sense of urgency, meeting deadlines, having a can-do spirit, decisiveness, effective meetings, getting things done, being results-driven, execution. That's it. That would be it for today. So let me, which is quite a lot. So let's just get started. In our usual way, the business values, I'll try as much as possible to capture a quote from TOE on the specific business value. I'll share what the literature says about the business value. Where possible, one will provide an example, and then where possible, food for thought from TOE. So human capital, culture, rewarding performance, and performance management. TOE says, talents I don't have, I don't regret. I surround myself with people who have them. Leaders don't do it alone. Assemble co-travelers. Identify talent and then help people discover themselves. Says everything about achieving results depends on people. One wrong hire and you can deviate from your strategic intent. Have people in the right jobs and ensure there's proper alignment. One of the toughest decisions I make is placing people. Putting round pegs in round holes is critical. People need to be placed in their natural habitat. When I get a hire wrong, I go back to the candidate's file to see where I got it wrong. When hiring, if negotiation with a candidate takes too long, it is best to pass. So these are TOE's quotes on our area of focus. He goes on to say in the area of performance management and culture, he says, performance management is key. We are a merit-driven organization. Wrong cultural values can kill an organization. It says, have a culture of excellence and quality. Emphasize quality in everything you do. I think first, we must know that you are what and how you project yourself. You are who you say you are. It is the soul of an organization. Remember, we spoke about this, I believe, 2 days ago. Maybe not. Okay. It is what really defines an organization. Excellence is very important. Excellence should be sustainable. And for it to be sustainable, there are certain foundational pillars that we need to put in place. So it says two things: processes and the kind of values we uphold, the kind of culture we preach, the way that they manifest both inside and outside of who we truly are or who we aspire to be. There's a quote that I have brought in here from that TOE shared last year on International Women's Day. I thought it was very relevant for human capital that we're covering today, because it talks about gender diversity and inclusion. So here are the quotes. TOE says, I'm dedicating, note, he said this last year on International Women's Day, so which is around March last year. I'm dedicating the rest of this month to celebrating women, from my mom to my wife, sisters, Hares Holdings Group female CEOs, directors, and female colleagues. You have all been impactful in my life story and business. I have been influenced by women all through my life, and always positively. I am and will be a strong advocate for inclusion in every area of life. I have witnessed firsthand the impact of investing in, working with, and learning from women. For us, gender inclusion is our DNA. We believe that together we can create a future where every individual, regardless of gender, can achieve their full potential and contribute to a more equitable and prosperous world. So moving on to what the literature says about all the areas of focus today: human capital, performance management, culture, etc. Culture, as we know, is about collective values, beliefs, etc. The literature says hire right. And to do so, one would advise conduct structured interviews and include key people in your interviews. Hire smart. Put round pegs in round holes. Ensure that there's organizational match, skills match, and job match. You know, when you're hiring, ensure that the person that you're hiring, so for instance, in the Hares Holdings Group, the core values are excellence, enterprise, execution. So you want to make sure that there's an organizational match from that perspective, that the person's values align with the values of the organization. So what are the values of your organization? And you want to ensure that you hire smart. Hire wisely, check references. So ensure that, you know, you do a background check on the individual. Measure performance. What gets measured gets done. And reward performance. So let's pause here. You know, I like to make the session very interactive. What would you say your core values are?
Okay, so We'll wait for our entrepreneurs to start dropping their comments on the YouTube
Thank you.
comments. We have a comment from Not Kimaiga who says integrity is his core value. Esogene Monica says honesty at all times. Another comment from Alfred says respect. Joseph Ezekiel says integrity, accountability, and honesty. We also have a comment saying consistency is his core value. And finally, Integrity Skill Bridge Limited says integrity and discipline. You have a lot of comments saying integrity. You're muted. You're speaking.
Sorry. So I was saying that it's very interesting that a lot of you have come up with integrity as a core value today. And it'd be interesting to hear from those of you that said integrity was one of your core values. If you can tell us if you were therefore learning from TOE and ensuring an organizational match with this core value of yours that's so integral, i.e. integrity, can you give us a question can you share a question that you would ask a candidate that you're interviewing that will enable you determine if this candidate has integrity or not? So repeat, what question would you ask the candidate you're interviewing that will enable you determine if this person has integrity?
All right. Participants will be waiting for your comments to that question on our YouTube comment section. Okay, and we have a comment from Kevin Oduo who says, would you work here if we didn't pay you? That's the first comment I'm seeing. And we also have another comment from Damo Export Trade Africa who says, how were you able to keep your first customer? And somebody says, Aviation Media Corner again says, tell me a time where you made a mistake at work. How did you handle it? So these are the three comments you can see.
Yeah, I particularly like the last one where you're asking the person I think the person, what was the question? How did
Tell me a time when you made a mistake at work and how
Exactly.
did you handle it?
Exactly. That's a good one. If you made a mistake and how did you handle it? It'll show a lot about the individual. So it's very important to make sure there's organizational match. You don't want to hire someone and then down the road find out that you need to let go of this person. So moving on, in terms of an example, remember I shared with you what TOE shared last year, what he posted last year on International Women's Day about inclusion and gender diversity, March 2024. This is the current state of gender diversity between HH and the UBA group. Almost 50% of the UBA group board are women. It's like 46.66%. 25% of UBA Africa boards are women. There are 6 female CEOs in the UBA group. Over 25% of the Hares Holding CEOs are women. And TF has disbursed over $40 million to support female entrepreneurs across 54 African countries. Now you can see that gender diversity and inclusion is so integral to the HH group and the UBA group, and pivotal to its success. So I think this is one of those times you say, put your money where your mouth is. Okay, so performance, food for thought from TOE. Performance is very strategic for business success. As an entrepreneur and as a business leader, I have found that performance is one of the essential tools for success. As an entrepreneur and a business leader, you start with a vision. You come up with strategies for executing the vision. You assemble the people who will execute the strategies. Then you let the people know what success entails. So it's vision, strategy, people, and then performance criteria. TOE says, if you fail to reward appropriately, in the long run, you will not grow a sustainable business. It's like a chain. If you do not reward, people will not deliver. If people do not deliver, there's no business. I have embraced rewarding performance as it is a very important leadership tool for getting things done. So moving on to the next set of business values, institutionalization and governance. TOE says you need the operating software that will make the system work in a certain way, in a certain manner. It says, looking back, remember I shared this quote 2 days ago, looking back, I find a certain work ethic, a certain way that I do business has contributed to my achievements. I would like these business values institutionalized for posterity. So in the induction at HH, the Hess Holdings Group, the TOE Way is shared for every employee that joins. TOE goes on to say, you must institutionalize, build to last, have a mindset of, I'm in this business forever. I want this business to be intergenerational. Put structures in place to institutionalize. Businesses hardly go beyond a generation in Africa. This is not good. We need to think legacy, think sustainability, think how to institutionalize. If we think like this, we will build to last. 100 years from now, I want this institution to be one that has achieved great success because it was built to last. So another quote from TOE says, to build to last, you must have strong corporate governance. Without strong corporate governance, you cannot build to last. One of the favorite definitions of mine in terms of the definition of corporate governance is the system by which companies are directed and controlled. You know, so those systems include the board, include your shareholders, include your management, executive management, include your policies, your charters, etc. All that, you know, enables you to have strong corporate governance. TOE says governance is key to succession planning. And so let's go to an example on governance. When Hess Holdings made a strategic investment in Transcorp in 2011, Transcorp had not produced annual accounts for years. Transcorp had unreconciled shares, 99 court cases, never paid a dividend. The share price was 50 kobo. But since 2011, Transcorp Hotels has been listed on the stock exchange. Transcorp Power has been listed on the stock exchange. And now these are the share prices for each of the 3 institutions that are listed on the stock exchange. Transcorp PLC is now 47 naira 80 kobo. That's as of a couple of days ago, so it may have changed from 2 days ago. Transcorp Hotels is at 164.60 naira, and Transcorp Power is at 342 naira. This is from Transcorp PLC that was just 50 kobo in 2011. So you can imagine the value that has been created for shareholders. This is aside from dividends that have been granted since then. So what did Hares Holdings do at the time that the acquisition, the strategic investment was made? Hares Holdings created internal awareness on governance, internal mobilization, internal cohesion, and corporate governance sessions were held for all the directors of Transcorp PLC and its subsidiaries. The Securities and Exchange Commission and the Nigerian Stock Exchange were invited. Corporate governance charters were developed, and the organization had zero tolerance for non-compliance. Leadership from the top that set the tone for zero tolerance for non-compliance for policies, charters, etc. Annual reports were produced and AGMs were held. The first dividend was paid in 2014. In 2014, the Nigerian Stock Exchange awarded Transcorp the most compliant company on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. In 2023, PLC and Transcorp Hotels were named in the top 10 best performing stocks on the Nigerian Stock Exchange in 2023. So a long way from being non-compliant in 2011. So in sum, build to last. TOE says, if you have the best policies, etc., and you don't have the right CEO, who is essentially the chief custodian of your corporate governance, to enforce it, then it will not work. It says policy is necessary, but not a sufficient condition. Do we have any comments, questions that we want to, before we go on to the next set of business values?
Okay, let's wait for entrepreneurs to drop their comments in the comment section while I read it out. Okay, there's a question from Gilbert Maloney. He says, how can one build the best pillars of corporate governance? He says, how can one build the best pillars of corporate governance?
Okay, so I thought I mentioned that, but let me, so one, you need, a board, because remember the definition I said I liked, which was basically the system by which companies are directed and controlled. So I would start with a board, and then executive management. So a board of directors, and a board of directors, depending on the size, your composition is key. So the board that you put together is very important in terms of how you're directed and controlled as a company. Your executive management, you guys are the CEOs. So the executives, the management team that you put in place to work with you is critical, because at the end of the day, you're the ones that are going to execute what you're going to, you're the one responsible for executing the strategy of the organization. Thirdly, you need to have like charters, and you need to have policies. Now, you're all startups. So the scale, the degree to which all these things will be done will not be as what's the word I'm looking for? In terms of the cost of putting this governance in place wouldn't be the same as, for instance, a listed company who would need to put in so many structures in place to ensure that they comply with the rules of the stock exchange, et cetera, et cetera. So the degree will be minimized because you're a small business. But these are the main pillars. Thank you.
Okay, that That's all we have. I'm so sorry. A lot of people are still asking for Coco. Just to mention again, it's currently unavailable, so we'll have the session in English, but in English only for today. My apologies, please. Over to you, Madam Angela.
Thank you. So the next set of business values, TOE business values we're going to be covering today is hard work leads to productivity, having a sense of urgency, meeting deadlines, having a can-do spirit, decisiveness, effective meetings, getting things done, and being results-driven, and at the end of the day, execution. So here's some quotes from TOE. Discipline, hard work, sacrifice are what make a successful entrepreneur. Success does not come on a platter. You have to work hard to be successful. You have to be disciplined and you have to make sacrifices. I work very hard and demand no less from people who work with me. Going on in terms of TOE saying, embrace hard work, discipline, and sacrifice. Says, I realized growing up that the way to get to the top is to go the extra mile. Tell yourself that there's no way to get there if you don't work hard. Have the discipline to say no to things that don't serve you and sacrifice now for future rewards. If you work hard and are disciplined, you will get what you desire in life. So I don't know how many of you have read Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell? Has anyone read the book? So one of the aspects of the book that I like is the whole magic number of true expertise being 10,000 hours of practice. 10,000 hours of practice, according to the author, is required to achieve the level of mastery associated with being a world-class expert in anything. So true mastery comes from 10,000 hours of work, according to him. So it's a book that you should read. The literature says hard work, 10,000 hour rule I've just explained, Malcolm Gladwell, the magic number for true expertise and mastery. And the Bible says, seest thou a man diligent in his work, he will stand before kings. I don't know how many kings and presidents that TOE has met. So his diligence has really rewarded him, according to the Bible. Food for thought. It's important to know that success does not come to those who quit. Successful people have similar traits. They are hardworking, disciplined, passionate about their goals, and are undeterred in the face of challenges. They possess grit. So moving on in terms of what the literature says, what's the sense of urgency? How do you define that? And it's a question of work as if one's life depended on it. In terms of, people who have employees, managers who have a sense of urgency tend to get things done more quickly. They tend to excel and accomplish more than others. They meet deadlines. They're high achievers and leaders, and they tend to have more of a sense of urgency than most people. So have a sense of urgency. It's critical to getting things done. And have a can-do spirit is what TOE is saying. And what's the literature saying about having a can-do spirit? It's being confident and resourceful in the face of challenges. A can-do spirit is marked by a willingness to tackle a job and get it done. A person who is positive about their ability to complete any task. The one I like is an attitude that does not have can't in their language. So I cannot do that, doesn't exist. Willing to try just about anything to complete a task. So a person with a positive outlook who is undaunted. TOE, in terms of decisiveness, TOE says leaders must be decisive, Posterity can forgive you for making a wrong decision. Posterity will not forgive you for not making a decision. So everyone deserves a response, and on a timely basis, leaders should have and give an answer of yes or no within 24 hours. Get the right work done, so not just getting work done, get the right work done. Have a to-do list. That would help. Effective meetings, also good for productivity. In the book, Power Vision, Insights on Tony Elumelu, a quote says, "It is impossible to work directly with TOE without meetings. Meetings are the platform through which his management by consensus style plays out. It is also through meetings that he energizes the organization." So a couple of days ago, we shared the business value on management by consensus and syndicating views. So what platform does TOE use? I mean, you could use emails, but meetings are one major platform that TOE uses to syndicate views. Meetings are a way of getting things done. Enables you to share information, get acceptance of ideas, solve problems. This is all what the literature says about meetings. Enables you to review performance, make decisions, align interests, and resolve conflicting viewpoints. Remember, we talked about the FlexCube and Finacle, the use of those, and a couple of days ago. So that gives you, you can use meetings to debate issues. Empathy allows you to read what's going on and helps you to move the group to a mood that supports getting things done. So empathy is key in meetings. At the end of the day, for meetings, a guide to effective meetings based on the literature: analyze your purpose and set clear objectives, invite the right people to the meetings, distribute pre-work early, set an agenda, set ground rules, manage interpersonal dynamics, follow up, who does what when, very critical in terms of the outcome of the meeting. Group consensus, critical for decision-making at meetings. We talked about group consensus the other day, so I won't go into that. And then we'll just end with execution. Execution is about getting things done. Execution is about thinking and doing, deciding and acting, planning and producing. So set clear priorities, collect and analyze your data, keep a rhythm to your meetings, and evaluate your strategy from time to time. So let me end with some quotes from TOE on execution. Action at the speed of thought. Execution is the art of getting things done. There's a book on this. Execution is about discipline. Focus on outcomes. TOE says a bit of planning in the form of these questions are some tips on execution. First, you need to ask yourself, what am I supposed to do? Then, is there clarity? Then, do I understand what I'm supposed to do? What resources do I need to do it? In what time frame am I required to get this done? I don't reward effort. I reward accomplishment. I reward people who accomplish results. And I believe that people must work hard. It's not either or for me. You have to do both. The genius of and. So let me get feedback from you guys on something that you haven't had a can-do spirit towards in trying to execute your idea, and what is it that you're going to revisit as a result of this session?
All right, our entrepreneurs, I will be waiting for your response in the comment section. Okay, we have a comment from Chibuike Ukebo who says, I will revisit my idea on cybersecurity and fraud investigations. And yes,
There's a lot of noise.
Chibuike. Oh, I'm sorry. He says, I will revisit my idea on cybersecurity and fraud investigations. And Jonathan says, I will stick to hard work instead. I will stick to hard work, consistency, and discipline.
Anybody else?
No.
Okay.
These are the two I can see, yes.
Okay. So on that note, I think we'll bring the session to a close today. It's a short one today because it's just those business values. So thank you all for your time and have a good rest of the week and see you on Monday.
Okay, thank you so much, Madam Angela, for this session. And it was a bit shorter than the rest, but I'm sure it was as engaging and insightful as well for the entrepreneurs. So thank you so much for hosting us, our entrepreneurs. Thank you so much for joining, and we'll see you again for the third series next week, Monday. All right, have a great day all. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.